Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So May is EDS and HSD Awareness Month. In this video I'm going to be talking about HSD, which is formerly known as Hypermobility Spectrum Disorder. I'm going to be talking a bit about what it is and also how it can be managed. So I was diagnosed with hypermobility spectrum disorder last summer. Hypermobility is a term for people who have hypermobile joints. Hypermobile joints are joints which exceed the normal range of movement. A great example is thumbs. So, you know, when someone says thumbs up, a lot of people go, yeah. But people who have hypermobile joints, they tend to be able to go, yeah. And I used to wonder why my thumbs did that. I never used to understand why other people couldn't move their thumbs that far back. So yeah, that's basically what hypermobile joints are. Now, hypermobility is very common. A lot of people have joints which move beyond the standard range of movement, but there are people who are asymptomatic, so they have hypermobile joints that no other symptoms, but someone who experiences symptoms alongside having hypermobile joints would be classed to have hypermobility spectrum disorder. Hypermobility spectrum disorder used to be called joint hypermobility syndrome, but a lot of the diagnostic criteria have changed and developed, especially as hypermobility spectrum disorder is so similar to hypermobile EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Hypermobile EDS has a much stricter diagnostic criteria now, so they've distinguished it into benign hypermobility, hypermobility spectrum disorder, and hypermobile EDS. Now I'm going to talk about the symptoms I have which coincide with being hypermobile. So the first one is pain. I get a lot of joint pain, particularly in my hips and my knees, sometimes my ankles a bit as well, sometimes my wrists, so I have to be really careful. Certain things can exacerbate the pain as well, so walking up the stairs can make both my hips and my knees hurt massively. I think into my entire body, my hips are probably the most hypermobile, and they cause me a lot of problems. If I when I'm sitting and I cross my legs will cross around each other, and that's comfortable for me. That feels like a natural seating position, but it starts to cause me pain. I try to notice that I'm doing it or about to do it and then stop and just sit straight. Joint stitch click, so my hip pops. It doesn't come out of place, but it pops every time I walk up the stairs. My wrists are very clicky, my ankles are clicky, jaw is clicky as well. I have TMJ, which is an issue with the jaw. It can be very painful to keep my mouth open for long amounts of time, so going to the dentist can be very difficult. My muscles just get they're exhausted, they've had it and it just hurts so much. So yeah, with hypermobility, it's not just the joints that are affected. Often it's the ligaments. There are issues with the connective tissue in the body, so things are a lot looser. Loose ligaments can be caused by hypermobility, but it can also be caused by injury. My ligaments have to be quite loose around my ankles, and that can cause me to have a few falls. I'll just be walking around my business and my ankle will just go like, it's a bit embarrassing. Poor coordination. So my sense of spatial awareness, not fantastic. I'm always managing to bump into people, no matter how much I try not to. I always manage to get in people's way, and my sense of direction and just generally my coordination is not very good. That's something very common with people with hypermobility. It can also cause me problems if I'm exercising and lose my balance quite quickly. So that can cause me to be quite klutzy. Fatigue. So that's not just feeling tired because you haven't slept well, it's feeling exhausted, very run down, muscle fatigue. So my muscles can feel really like just worn out. It's like done. Other things that I live with that a lot of other people do, who a lot of other hypermobile people have, are autonomic dysfunction, also known as dysautonomia. I have something called vasovagal syncope. So it's an issue in my autonomic nervous system which causes my blood pressure to drop, cause me to pass out. It's not very nice. I've made a separate video about that. It's in my first video. I talk about living with vasovagal syncope. So if you watch that video, you can find out all about the amazing tests I had and what I went through to get that diagnosis. I have issues with digestion. That's very common in people with hypermobility. Something very common is that to have stretchy skin. My skin is really stretchy. It literally, like, it just goes out like that. Like, this is like old people's skin. This isn't like how normal people are. Oh, I don't know what's normal anymore, you know. Ugh. Not everybody with hypermobility have the same symptoms. One example is the stretchy skin. I have two friends with hypermobility, EDS, and they don't have stretchy skin. Yet that's known to be like quite a common symptom in hypermobility and hypermobility EDS. Some people don't have stretchy skin. Another one is dislocations, joint dislocations. I don't dislocate my joints. I know people who have hypermobile EDS who don't dislocate their joints. There are people with hypermobility spectrum disorder who do. There are people with EDS who do. It varies from person to person. Not everyone has the same symptoms, and some people have things a bit more severe than others. You know, we're all different. So in this part, I'm going to be talking about how I manage my hypermobility. So, of course, the main issue that I have to tackle with my hypermobility is the pain. So before I was diagnosed, I started using like over-the-counter products. So deep heat, hot baths, hot water bottles, supplying them to joints helps a lot. Sometimes ice packs or deep freeze can help. So these help you for these are more helpful for like short term. So in terms of physiotherapy, I have exercise for my hips and my core, and I use one of these, which is a resistance band. This is great because what it does is it helps prevent my hips from moving beyond a certain range, minimises my risk of pain. So that's been very helpful. Another thing is Pilates. So that's, I mean, I can't recommend Pilates enough because it's so good for your core. But with physiotherapy, what it does is it helps build muscle, because with people who are hypermobile and experience pain, it's due to their so those parts of, how do I explain this? It's due to deconditioning, so the muscles around aren't strong. Sometimes there's a lot of muscle weakness, and that's something we found among my joints which are hypermobile, or there's muscle weakness. So physiotherapy is designed to help build muscle to get your joints stronger and minimising pain, and it works. It helps so much. For long term, I do my physio a couple of times a day. I often get pain at night in my joints. So something that helps me, because I sleep on my side, I get a spare pillow to put between my knees, and that really helps. It just relieves the pain so much. My next tip is avoid doing certain things which will put strain on my joints, and find an alternative way. So for example, if I need to go home and I normally walk, if my ankles are hurting so bad or my joints are acting up, I'll get the bus instead. So I'm not going to push myself past my limit on that day. Take the lift or the escalator. So yeah, I guess just avoiding things which you know are going to cause pain. In terms of exercise, I've discovered low impact cardio, low impact yoga. So low impact exercises, they're designed to not put too much strain on your joints. So when I do low impact exercises, I don't end up in pain. So that's really good. That helps me a lot. Something that people with hypermobility really shouldn't do is overstretch their joints or do party tricks just because you can. If someone says to me, "Oh, go on, show me a party trick," it's, "Oh yeah, it's all very well," but then it can leave me in a lot of pain, so I tend to try not to do that. So that's my explanation of hypermobility and how I deal with it. Thank you.